Hey everyone, welcome to Grounded with John Tester and Maritza Giorgio. It is Monday, April 27th. Wow, that was a weekend.
Yeah, it was. You're still having your weekend. I'm getting ready to head out. You're still in DC living the high life, right? No?
Well, I mean, I'm still in DC, but I'm not. I'm gonna work today. I'm filling in with scripts this week, so I'm not on my weekend. Like I'm working. I'm here with you.
What's really important is, I know, and that's a sacrifice. What's really important here is this is episode 99, right? You ever watch Get Smart? You give me crap about not watching movies. You ever watch Get Smart, Agent 99?
I do. I do know what Get Smart is. Yeah. I do know. I used to watch it as a kid on Nick at Night.
There you go. Yeah. It's one of my all-time
Episode 99. Like, what are we going to do for 100?
I don't know. That's up to you. You've got to figure that out. You're the one laid back, taking it easy in DC. I'm working,
Okay, I'll figure it out. Good idea. I'll figure that out.
I was thinking maybe you should get a hold of the person you saw Friday night and see if maybe Bill had come on.
Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, like
former President Clinton. That'd be good. We'd love to talk about politics with Clinton. That would be great.
I would love to talk to Bill Clinton. I think, though, it might be a big ask to have him come on for our very next episode we're doing, which I assume is in the next couple of days.
No time like the present.
Oh, man. Okay, so on today's show...
I'll text her, too.
Okay. On today's show, we have Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass joining us. So we're going to talk with her in just a little bit, but we wanted to go through some headlines. Anything you want to say before we start that process?
No,
any thoughts?
Nothing happened this weekend. I don't know what you're going to talk about. I mean, really, it's another boring week. But the question I have, I wonder what the hell's going on in Iran. Is the Strait of Hormuz open or is it closed? That's what I want to know.
I just need a simple website where I can go and there's a green sign or a red sign, because I don't know. I have not seen, that's the thing about what happened this weekend. There's a whole lot of big news that we should be talking about, including the Strait of Hormuz, including the diplomatic talks that were supposed to take place this weekend in Pakistan that were canceled Saturday morning by President Trump. The Jeffrey Epstein story is still very much in play. There was a memorial and remembrance celebration for Virginia Giuffre this weekend in DC on the National Mall with the White House in the background. In fact, I just saw on Substack that friend of the show, our friend Katie Fang, is actually suing Todd Blanche over the release of the Epstein files. So there's a lot we need to be talking about. And this is just kind of, go ahead.
I got another for the farmers in the group. A several $100 million contract was given to Palantir to consolidate all farm information, which for, the farmers out there who tend to be a little more libertarian and independent and think Big Brother has too much control, you ought to be damn worried about this. If that, in fact, is true, that they got a no-bid contract to consolidate farm information, our markets will be controlled more than they've ever been controlled before, and maybe even far worse than that, which I don't even want to get into. So there's a lot of shit rolling down the hill. As I said once before, what turd are you going to pick up? Because there's a lot of them heading our way.
Yeah, for sure. And we need to be talking about that. I'm glad you got my text about that. That means you read my text? Or did you see it from somewhere else, the Palantir thing?
I saw it from somewhere else. I saw it from you. I was just disappointed you didn't bring it up. That's all.
Well, I was waiting for you to say something about it, like respond to my text. You just leave me unread. All right, let's talk.
Let's get on to the stuff that actually hit the news.
Let's do it. We learned more yesterday and into this morning about the alleged shooter from the White House Correspondents' Dinner, identified as 31-year-old Cole Allen. A LinkedIn page that appears to be his says he was a part-time teacher. The New York Post published a manifesto reportedly written by him saying that he wanted to target the administration. He criticized the lax security at the Hilton leading up to the day of the shooting. He talked about all of his issues with what's happening in the world, and anger about what's happening in the world. And he will be arraigned in federal court later today. I'm watching our friend Scott McFarland's feed for that. He will be in court. And I'll be filling in for scripts too as that's happening. I believe it's this afternoon. So we're just learning a lot. And again, there's so much that conflicts with the initial information we got from the event Saturday.
Yeah, so the real question is McFarland going to feed you info while you're doing the anchor job on scripts? Huh?
No,
he's
not going to. He's not feeding me info. He's giving all of us the info. That's the beauty of independent journalism. He's going to be, I imagine, he's going to be doing what he's been doing every single day, which is going on Substack and updating us as he does so masterfully. And he's done on, other platforms before this. So I will be watching his Substack along with all the rest of you to see what's going on in court because he will be right there.
Cool. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you worked out a deal. I know you saw him, Saturday night? And,
Listen, a lot of people would love to work out a deal with Scott McFarland, but the beauty of it is we don't have to. He's going to put it out for all of us to see. No exclusives there. But yeah, we did see Scott.
Cool.
Okay,
yeah.
So last night, did you watch 60 Minutes?
I did at your recommendation, by the way, because you're 2 hours ahead of me and said you need to watch this interview. So I did. I always follow yours.
Yes, that's right. Nora O'Donnell interviewed the president on 60 Minutes. I want to play just a couple of moments from that. Here's the first one.
The security moving quickly, within seconds, grabbing the vice president by his coat, lifting him up, bringing him out. Then the counter assault comes in. Took 10 seconds for them to flank you, Mr. President, and then 20 seconds to get you out. It looked chaotic. At one point, you were down. What was happening?
Well, what happened is it was a little bit me. I wanted to see what was happening, and I wasn't making it that easy for him. I wanted to see.
What do you think about that?
Well, I don't, look, he had said in that interview either before that or after that Melania knew that they were gunshots. So I assume he knew they were gunshots. I don't know if somebody's shooting, and it's me, Ben. By the way, I had one of my students there that was there. He contacted me from my fellowship at Georgetown, and he said he heard the shots. He knew what they were. He got the hell out of there, and he got the hell out of there. I think your reaction is if somebody's shooting, you get the hell out of there. You don't sit around and look around and say, "What's going on? I wonder what's happening."
Well, also,
totally abnormal, not what your instincts would tell you to do.
And we didn't see, of course, that's one vantage point, but it sure looks like they pulled the vice president out immediately. And I don't know what was happening on the other end of the stage, but it is something that I'm sure will be reviewed and investigated as to what happened. All right, now I want to play this other clip and get your reaction on the other side.
The manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this quote, "Administration officials, they are targets." And he also wrote this, "I'm no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes." What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and
these
I was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace. But go ahead, let's finish the interview.
The other thing that he wrote in
You're
the,
disgraceful.
I mentioned that because, again, as his motive, and you brought this up, he had social media accounts that had anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric.
You should read, why don't you read all the anti-Trump? Why don't you read it? You just did, so why don't you read it?
Well, he had a lot of anti-Christian rhetoric. He was part of a group called the Wide Awakes. He had attended a No Kings protest in California.
No Kings, yeah.
What did security tell you about
Well,
what
see,
may have been his motives?
The reason you have people like that is you have people doing no kings. I'm not a king. What I am, if I was a king, I wouldn't be dealing with you.
Oof, that was something to watch. Somebody in our chat said that Nora's poker face is bulletproof for sure. I mean, she handled it very well. But what do you think watching that?
Incredibly defensive about what's being said to the point where he assumed, I guess, rightfully so, that they were talking about him. But incredibly defensive. But here's the other part that is being drummed up under all this stuff. They're trying to blame the shooter on Democrats' rhetoric. And if you want to listen to what the president said from the day he was sworn in, by the way, about people from the other side of the aisle, if you wanted to listen to the next interview that 60 Minutes had with Ben Sasse that talked about how we need to bring people together and have communities, and that's what makes this country strong, not Congress, then you'll see why the country is so divided and why it's that. It's not Democrats. I never heard one Democrat talking about how this shooter out there did a good thing. They're very condemning all of it. But the truth is when you have a president who unilaterally goes into Iran without any congressional consent, without even talking about trying to sell it to the American people, like what happened earlier with other conflicts, when you have a president that applies tariffs and thinks other people pay for them when it's the biggest tax increase on the American people ever. And the list goes on and on. When you have a president who tears down the East Wing of the White House, just tears it down to build some golden palace so he can bring all of his billionaire buddies in to talk to, you don't expect people to be critical of that? I mean, really? I mean, what does our country become if that's the case? That means he is a king. That means he does do whatever the hell he wants without any checks or balances. And that's the problem. He needs to look in the mirror because the division in this country has been caused by him and his actions, his unilateral actions, and Congress's inability to have a set of kahunas to stand up to him. It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Anytime the press asks him a question, he doesn't answer the question. He goes after the press. And this has happened from the day one that he's been. Hell, it happened before he got into office in 2016. He used to put press people in cages, for God's sakes, and people thought that was cute. Freedom of the press is really important for democracy, folks. And if you don't have freedom of the press, then you have a situation where you do have a king or you do have a dictator, because there are no checks and balances by Congress. There's no checks and balances by the press. There's no checks and balances. And freedom of speech becomes really, really, really at risk, which, by the way, is also rich, because when people talk and he is offended by it, that's freedom of the speech, that he can be offended and say, shut up and don't talk about me. Come on, that's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Really, really interesting time in this country's history or future or whatever the hell it's going to end up being here, because it doesn't pass the smell test, quite frankly. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think, okay, there are a few points to pull on there. First of all, yes, the freedom of the press is the reason this event is held every year. It is to celebrate the First Amendment. It is to celebrate the essential duty of the Fourth Estate to have a free and independent press. And, I think there's a lot going around, right? We're hearing a lot of chatter about what happened. And it's like, a lot of people are saying, you can't do that. You can't talk about the conspiracies. You can't, and I get that. We need to get the facts. We need to get the facts. And I know that there was a room full of my friends and colleagues who were terrified because they didn't know what was going on. And there were shots fired and they were in a ballroom and didn't know what was happening. Beyond that, we have a lot to sort through. We have a lot of information to sort through, and we will get more information once this person is arraigned today. But I do want to say that what's disturbing is that we're at this place where we question everything because of things like what the administration said after Renee Good was killed. And lied about her trying to, run over the officers when clearly she was parked. We see these things come out and we see these lies, and it does spread this need to say, well, what the hell's going on? What's the truth? We saw this with our own eyes. How can you say that's different? And the things that are said that point to a narrative instead of just, we need to wait for the facts here. There will be a thorough investigation. And so I think, the whole coming to this conclusion of, well, this is why we need a ballroom. And a lot of people are pointing to that, like, why is he saying that? Why is he saying that? And I just want to point out here that this event is for the free press. This is to celebrate journalism. It is not to celebrate journalism permitted by the White House. It is not to. So if you have the ballroom in the White House, I don't think that's a good place for this event, because all of a sudden the White House is in control of what happens in that room. And that is not what the press corps, that's not what their duties are. It's not to answer to the White House. It's to ask questions of the White House. So those are my kind of thoughts here.
Much more coherent than mine.
No, mine was a ramble. Yours was great.
No, well,
mine was a ramble.
No, as usual, the professionalism comes out once again.
But I think that's to your point, to have a press conference 30 minutes after, and Karen is saying this in the comments right now, but it's like, well, there's nothing to say yet. At that point, they are sorting through what the hell happened, and they are investigating, and they should be processing the crime scene and interviewing people. And like, how can you even have a press conference at that point? There's no new information other than what just happened. So I don't know. There's just a lot going on. I hope we get to the bottom of this. I hope that we stop seeing violence, political violence, any violence. Like the fact.
You know what I hope? I hope when the press, and one of the best reporters in the country is Nora O'Donnell, when the press asks the president a question, that he answers the question instead of going after the person who asked the question. She was simply repeating what the attacker had said, and he took that very personal. And how dare you ask the president? Nobody can ask the president these kind of questions. Well, that's not how democracy works, but that's how he's trying to make it work. He never has to answer the questions that he doesn't want to answer. And we saw this with people in his cabinet, by the way, particularly Bondi, who would say, I'm not going to answer your questions when the folks from the Senate were asking her questions. I'll answer my questions. That's not how democracy works. That's not how accountability works. And it's why, by the way, it's a huge mistake when you put a person who's never had dirt under their fingers into the White House. You don't put somebody in there that has never been in touch with reality, and he hasn't, who's used the court system to get out of every trouble he's ever been in and continues to do that all the time, sue people right and left for just doing things that our Constitution says is legal to do. Pretty soon he'll want to wipe out the Constitution and have his own, just like they're trying to do in Montana right now, by the way, which is a bunch of bullshit too. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. I do want to say, though, the interview after this one on 60 Minutes with Ben Sasse was so moving and so touching, and really something everybody should watch. And what a decent, good man he is.
Yeah, it will set you back. If you know Ben Sasse, it'll really set you back. It set me back. It made you think about things, and it showed, quite frankly, what a gem Ben Sasse is. And Ben Sasse, by the way, was a very conservative, religious Republican, and somebody that I respect a lot. Why? Because his religion is real. He is not a hypocrite, and what he believes is what he believes, and he lives that. And quite honestly, his view of what's going on in Congress right now was spot on. Where you got people that think that the best job they've ever had in the world is being a U.S. senator, and if that's the case, probably shouldn't be in the U.S. Senate. Truthfully,
Yeah.
your job there is to represent the people and do good things for the country to move it forward, so our kids and grandkids can have the opportunity their grandparents and parents gave us. And you got a bunch of people running around that got a senator sticker on that think they're special. Well, they're not. They're just like anybody else. They were elevated to this position for a period of time, and they ought to be responsive to the people who elected them, and they're not.
Yeah, it was quite something. I highly recommend you check it out. We're going to do a few more headlines before Mayor Bass joins us. Happening this week, though, Senator, we are going to hit the 60-day mark on the use of military force in Iran. This is a law. It was established after Vietnam. It basically puts just a timeline on any wars that are undeclared. So part of that law says the president has to notify Congress within 48 hours of using military force. And then that Congress must authorize the use of force within 60 days of that notification. If that doesn't happen, the law says that military action must stop. So there are some options here. President Trump could extend the timeline, extend the clock for another 30 days. He hits the snooze button and says, we're not done here. We're not ready to wake up here. There is disagreement, though, on the Hill about how the ceasefires affect the timeline. It's important to note this law has never been used to end military action. But here's what I'm going to be watching for, because we have heard multiple GOP lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, signal that they would reevaluate or not support this beyond 60 days. So what do you think?
We'll see. We'll see if they back up what they said with action. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think that this war has been a mistake from the beginning, and I think we're seeing that mistake play out and increase costs across the board. I've got a couple of diesel pickups. I filled up one of them this weekend, it was a little less than a half a tank. I filled it up. It was $112. That's nearly double what it would have been, 65 days ago. So the increased costs are hitting people in the pocketbook every day. The Strait of Hormuz is hitting people in the pocketbook every day. It's going to push some people out of business unless things change, and that won't be good for working folks. It might be good, like the price of gas being up. It's good for oil companies, but it's not good for working folks. And you get more consolidation in business and in agriculture. That's never good. Never good for anything, especially not the consumer. And so, all this stuff isn't good. And it's because you have a president that unilaterally went into Iran without any, he's the one that said he had destroyed their nuclear program. He's the one that said that. But yet Bibi Netanyahu walked up to him, slapped him on the back, told him he was a great guy, and said, come with me. I'm going to get in a war with Iran, which he's been trying to do for 50 years. And the president said, oh, yeah, let's do that. I think that's a good idea. It's just goddamn crazy. And Congress, once again, needs to stand up and make sure that they're doing their job that the Constitution put forth. And part of it is either you pass it or you don't pass an authorization to go to war, because we're at war. This isn't an incursion. This is a war. People are dying. Money, billions and billions of dollars of taxpayer money is being spent, by the way, increasing our debt like crazy. And, and maybe all this money is going to his buddies. I don't know, but this is not good. So hopefully Congress steps up and does something.
He called it an excursion.
Sorry, incursion, excursion. It's an X. But John Thune was on the Ben Sasse interview yesterday, and John Thune is one of those guys that not a bad guy. He knows what's right from wrong. He needs to start doing it. He does, and that interview indicated that, by the way. But he needs to start doing it. Unless you do it, then you'll never get credit for being on the right side of history.
Two things to watch this week. King Charles is here. He's coming to the United States. That will be interesting to watch. There's a lot of chatter about what that will look like. Also, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will go before the House Armed Services Committee Wednesday, the first time he's been on the Hill since this war in Iran began. But I do want to just end our headlines here before we get to Mayor Bass with a little bit of a lighter headline. Did you see the news about the National Reflecting Pool at the Lincoln Memorial?
No, I didn't see it. What's going on?
You really did it?
No.
So it's been drained, and crews over the weekend started painting the floor of it bright blue.
Great.
It's gonna cost anywhere from $1.5 to $2 million. The president said $2 million on Truth Social, and it's gonna take another week to finish. But he says that this will beautify the pool and really get us where we need to be for America 250.
It's a big reflecting pool. Man, I wish I'd have got that contract. Holy shit!
Yeah, you could go paint that.
Well, spend your gun out and go to work. I'm telling you, that's pretty crazy. That's not.
Oh my God, we could have done the Grounded podcast while we were painting the floor.
I guarantee you, it's you could $1.5 million is a lot of change to throw. I mean, that's a big pool, but man, that's a lot of cash.
For a week's worth of work? Yeah.
You could have started at one end, I could have started at the other, and we could have met in the middle, through by
Oh, look at that.
Other thing I want to bring up, because Dirk Kempthorne passed away, former governor of Idaho and former Secretary of the Interior. Colon cancer is what was reported. Dirk is one of the guys that I got to meet, was a U.S. Senator, and Dirk was an old school Republican and a decent man, and didn't do everything I agreed with, but he had honor and he had a reputation, and he's somebody that his voice will be missed in the Republican Party for sure.
All right. Well, we're sending love to his family and loved ones. I think we're ready. I'm just looking to see if Madam Mayor is ready. Looks like they're finalizing maybe her camera setup.
Right.
But
Good.
We'll see. We're just kind of on standby. This is like a little bit of, live substacking for you.
Well, that's good. So I want to know when you go to work today.
I'll go right after this. I'm going to go in right after this, and I'll be on the desk at 1 p.m. Eastern.
1 p.m. Eastern. So you got a couple hours. And so the real question is that I'm always curious, because I've watched a little bit. The time you're on compared to the time you're on break, per hour, are you on break more than you're on at the desk with the camera on, or is because it seems like it's a pretty good gig. I'll be honest with you. I mean,
Well, okay. So they have changed their structure and how the formatting works. So there's a lot more focus on reporters' stories than there is about an anchor at a desk. So yes, yeah. I am not on as much as reporters are on, but I'm not on a break. I'm reading the news. I'm updating scripts. I'm looking for new stuff. I mean, it's not just like a break.
So you're not off. You're not smoking a cigarette while the camera's on a reporter.
Well, we're gonna bring back the days where we do it on the desk, like Murrow, right? We're just gonna bring it back. Like, let's just go back to the good old days, right? All right.
Bring the ashtray in. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, all right. We have Mayor Karen Bass. I think she's ready. I see her smiling. Okay, we're gonna bring her in. Hi, Madam Mayor.
Hello. Mayor Bass, how the heck are you?
I'm doing fine here. How are you?
I am good. Can I ask her the most important question of the day?
Sure.
Are you a fisherman?
Fisherwoman.
No.
Fisherwoman.
All right, generic. But yeah,
No,
fisherman. Are you a fisherwoman?
What'd you say?
Are you a fisherwoman? How's that?
I am
You're not?
No,
Because
never caught a bass in my life.
I was going to say, you got the best fishing name in the world, Aaron Bass out catching bass. That's great.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. We want to say thank you so much to you, Mayor Bass, for joining us. You're not only the Los Angeles mayor, but you spent 12 years in the U.S. House. Like, I know John has this question, so I'll let him ask it.
So the question is, 12 years in the House, you've been mayor for what, a year and a half?
3 years.
3 years, sorry, 3 years. So which is the better gig?
I'm going to tell you something. Being a member of Congress is a heck of a lot easier than being than being mayor of the nation's second largest city. There is no doubt there. But what I like about being mayor is instant gratification. I get to do something and see the results right away.
And you're going to be right there in your community, interacting with people every day instead of traveling back and forth.
That's right. That's right. Although, I have to tell you that I know this sounds crazy, but I missed the plane rides because that's when I got concentrated work done.
Wow. That does sound crazy. I'm going to tell you, because there's one thing I don't miss, it's the damn plane rides. I'm telling you, it's great.
I know. Well, you probably, yes.
But you have a direct flight, right? There's a direct one from LA to Dulles or LA or DCA, correct?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yes. It's a lot easier than I'm sure what you had to do. Drive, take flights, and yes.
It was a pain, that's for sure. Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, it's good to have you here. So you are, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're kind of like the president of Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's correct.
And you've got a city council too, I would assume, that is kind of like Congress, right?
Yes. Fortunately, it's only 15. I don't have to deal like New York or Chicago that have 50 member councils.
Yeah. So do they, I'm saying this because I'm going down the road that the president doesn't have many checks and balances on him because Congress is AWOL, but is the city council, kind of a pain in the butt for you because you got to listen to them? Because that's the way it should be.
Yes, it can be. Absolutely. Because also power is split. Like it was supposed to be in DC, but that's not the case anymore because he controls everything. But yes, power is split. For example, the council makes the majority of the land use decisions, and that's huge. That's a huge area. I do a budget, they get it, but I do have line item veto, so that's very, very helpful.
So, Mayor Bass, when I first reached out to your people to get you on, it was really during the height of all of the immigration raids that we saw last year in Los Angeles and beyond. And now, suddenly Minneapolis really became the flashpoint this year for these discussions and the raids and the protests. But LA was really one of the first places this became highly visible. We saw you at the time denouncing those raids in your city. And now we've seen bold action in Minneapolis with the Hennepin County attorney actually charging an ICE agent. So I guess I'm wondering, as we go forward, right now we're talking, of course, today we're talking about what happened this weekend. There's a lot of big news. There's stuff going on in Iran. But my friends in Minneapolis say, this stuff is very much still happening here. They're not gone. These raids are continuing to happen. It's just the focus has gone away. So what do you think we need to be paying attention to? And what can other local municipalities learn from both Los Angeles, Minneapolis, and beyond?
Right. Well, and I think what happened here, we were the first one, but I always viewed it like we were the petri dish, that this was going to go national, and they were just doing it, here to see what would happen in a city, especially to see if they could divide a city like Los Angeles, which they did not do. But, I have been in conversation with mayors all around the country, and we are coordinating and communicating and learning from each other in terms of different policies that can be done, because our folks in Los Angeles, they want to know, why can't LAPD go out and arrest these agents? You are correct. This is still going on every day. It's just not in the same explosive way as it was before. Instead of 10 raids with them swooping down the street and doing all of that drama, that it might not be that many in a day, and they're not as dramatic, but it is absolutely still happening, and our economy is still hit. But I think the main thing is around the protests, and that is how important the protests are, but how it is so critical that the protests continue, but that they continue peacefully, and that we communicate to our citizens, to our residents, that if you devolve into violence, you have just invited the military to come in and really get that message through. But I can't even imagine what would have happened in this country if there had been no protests.
Amen on that. So the actions by ICE are still going on. California's got 38 million people in it. They got a hell of an agriculture system that goes on that requires a lot of hand labor. I mean,
That's right.
Where I live, it's very, very, you get big equipment and you harvest a lot of wheat. It's hard to harvest vegetables without using your hands. Have you seen impacts on the workforce as far as economic impacts as food supply in particular, but any other area too of your economy?
Absolutely. I mean, we are a city that is just about 50% Latino, huge immigrant population, a lot of families mixed status. And our fashion industry, for example, is still a ghost town. We have entire sectors of our economy that cannot function without immigrant labor. And the Central California, of course, it's agriculture. I don't know. They seem to be a little less there. I think those farmers got to Trump. And again, it's still going on, but not in the dramatic fashion, as it was before. But, a lot of our construction industry is about 40% immigrant labor. Here we need to rebuild an entire section of our town. And we're concerned about that. And they tend to do raids at Home Depots, which is where Home Depots and car washes, for whatever reason. And, of course, as people are rebuilding and restoring their homes, that is a big blow. Our restaurants, we have immigrant communities that cater to their own population. And to hear them describe it as worse than COVID, because folks do not want to come to work and customers don't even want to order online, or they don't want to order for deliveries because they're afraid of anybody coming to their house. School attendance is down. So we have all of these indicators that it is still suppressing sectors of our economy. And, the impact does not go away.
So Mayor, is this how you make America great again?
This is how you make a mess of America. This is just such an egregious moment in our history. And one of the things that I've said a lot, especially to younger people, remember these days, because you will remember them throughout your life. I mean, the most egregious assault on our democracy that I certainly am aware of.
You mentioned the protests, Mayor Bass, and I know on Saturday there were demonstrations across the country as part of a day of action demanding that some of these ICE detention centers be shut down. This is coming, of course, as we're seeing plans to open more, turning warehouses into ICE detention centers. Right. And I know there's a rally happening next week called No Camps California outside of your state's detention centers, including one there in LA. So they're talking about abusive conditions. They want them shut down. How is your office working with them? How are you addressing those concerns?
Well, and actually, we talk about the deaths that happened in Minneapolis and all. But, a number of people have died in these detention centers.
Yeah.
There's a number of people that have disappeared. We don't know where they are. We don't know if they're in the United States or they've been moved around the country. So that certainly continues. But one thing that is wonderful about Los Angeles is that because we are an immigrant community, we really have a solid immigrant rights infrastructure that has, more than 30 years experience going back to the civil wars in Central America. And so they're highly organized. Some are even funded by the city. And so I essentially organized a cabinet, if you will, of immigrant rights organizations, very prominent, very established groups. And we have guided the policy of the city of Los Angeles. And so, one of the things, though, that has happened is that some of the protests now, as is typical, have veered away into a lot of different issues. And that brings different people into the mix that are not just protesting around, what is happening in their immigrant rights area. And so that brings in, other elements. And then, of course, that can be of concern because they might not have the same discipline, the same commitment as the traditional organizations who are certainly used to well-organized, peaceful protests.
I do want to also ask about Iran because you mentioned your immigrant communities there, and I know LA is home to, I think, the largest population of Iranians in the country.
That's
what
correct.
are you hearing from them as we hit the 60-day mark this week? What are you hearing from that community?
So it's interesting. The loudest voice in the community is the voice that says they want the Shah's son back, which to me, who remembers those years, is interesting. I know he was 18 years old, I think, when the Shah left, and so that is the biggest faction. Our Iranian community is Christian, Muslim, and Jewish. I'm not positive about this, but the Jewish sector might be the largest. And so it's been very vocal, but in the beginning, it was very vocal. I see that subsiding. There's still protest and support, but they want to see the president go in and take over. They are regime change all the way. And I'm not sure what people were thinking here because, I know that we knocked out the top leadership, but you can't just pluck in somebody. This is a well-established country. This is not Iraq. And so I worry that, we bit off more than we could chew.
I worry about that too. And the president has threatened to blow up infrastructure, which is not necessarily going after the government. It's going after the people. Have you heard any comments from the Iranians on that? Are they okay with that?
Well, the faction that is the loudest and most organized is absolutely. They are. They want regime change. They want him to go in. So I think that, they were very excited and very happy in the beginning. It subsided and I don't think they got what they expected. But I also know that they are disappointed because they thought that, Trump was going to go all the way and that things were going to change overnight. What I say is,
he may go all the way. He ain't done yet, I don't think. So,
right.
Yeah.
But, what I always say is that, our history is we're really good at breaking things up, but we're not very good at putting them back together. Yeah. And I just don't see how we get out of this, certainly with a new regime. And then again, what would that regime be anyway,
Yeah. And as this war wages on, we are seeing, like we've already talked about on this episode, the Strait of Hormuz and all of the impacts of that, and our fuel prices and fertilizer and the costs. And I know that right now, when you take all of that combined with the tariffs, combined with our economy, there's a lot of uncertainty about what that looks like going forward, and that leads to people worried about being unhoused. And I know that is an issue that is such an issue in your community. And I know that, it's impacted LA greatly. So as people are having these conversations, what can we all be doing to not only help people not be unhoused, but help people who are currently unhoused, find the help that they need and solve this problem? This is something that's been going on for a very long time.
Right. And let me one last note on Iran. We are going to have 8 games of the World Cup here. And one of the countries is Iran. I'm like, of all places.
Yeah.
To have a World Cup game here with Iran, it worries me. It really does, because I think all the factions then come together, and you will always worry about conflicts within diaspora. But in terms of the homeless situation, I know we are one of the epicenters in the country with 46,000 people unhoused in just our city. If you talk about our county, then you're talking about more like 70,000 people. And that has been a big problem here for about the last 3 to 4 decades. So it is the main reason why I decided to leave Congress. It's the main reason why I wanted to have this job, was to get people off the street. And, I am happy to say that after 2 years of my administration, street homelessness has gone down almost 18%, while homelessness in general went up 18% around the country. So I put the city in a state of emergency on the first day of my administration to give me enhanced powers so that I could move immediately to get people off the street. But I inherited a system that is profoundly dysfunctional. And so we have to make some real changes within the system. We actually have to create a system that is functional, because the current is not.
So when it comes to homelessness, what have you found that works?
Well, first of all, a few myths that have been shattered, which is people want to be on the street. We have found it very easy to get people off the streets, but no surprise, once you get them off the streets, we turn them over to a community-based organization to provide services and meals and all of that. But none of our organizations are really equipped with the capacity to provide what people need. So that's one part of the system that needs to be fundamentally changed. And then administratively, it is just absolutely a nightmare, which leaves people, the public, with the impression that money is being swindled or stolen or embezzled, which, of course, you always have bad actors everywhere. And those bad actors absolutely need to be held accountable. But for the most part, that's not what's going on. But what's going on is a system that exploded with organizations that didn't have the administrative capacity to actually absorb the explosion of the number of people on our streets.
The other big event that, we talk about the ice rates, we talk about the unhoused, we talk about the World Cup, the Olympics. You have a lot going on, Madam Mayor. And then
right.
We can't forget the focus that was on your city and your community last year with the fires. And This is something that, Senator Tester and I live in Montana. Wildfire is not a foreign concept to us, but it is a foreign concept to a lot of other people across the country. But what I've always said in my reporting is this is an everyone problem, because we are seeing more and more fire break out at times when it shouldn't, in the middle of winter, and in places where it shouldn't, like a concrete, suburban community. So I want to talk about the fires. I know that you met with the president last week in the Oval Office.
Yes.
You wanted to talk about FEMA funding, rebuilding efforts, and also pressuring insurance companies to pay their fair share, to pay what they owe here. And you said that these federal partners are essential. So I'm wondering how that looks going forward. Do you think that pressure, are you confident that this is going to result in the help that not only your community needs, but other communities who are going through this or will be going through this?
Well, first of all, it was absolutely devastating to wipe out, an entire neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I know that because of news coverage, there was the impression that it was all over the city and all of that. It's not. Los Angeles is 500 square miles. So, this is a neighborhood, significant impact, over 5,000 homes lost, massive. And like you said, it happened in January. We did have fire season, but we're all having to, especially in a city like Los Angeles, to adjust to climate change with weather events that we've never seen before. We had 100-mile hurricane-style winds attached to that fire. We don't have hurricanes here. Los Angeles is really in a pickle because we're not used to weather. It's kind of always the same here. And right. So that contributed to the devastation that happened. But in the meantime, we have fast-tracked everything. I've issued over 2,000 permits for over 1,000 properties. A year, not quite a year and a half in, we have over 400 homes that are actively under construction. Some people will be moving in this summer. So if you compare that to other wildfires that have taken place in California, that's really, really a high speed. Other fires, we were about 8 months or more ahead than other places. And ironically, it's because in the beginning, the Trump administration poured resources on us with the Army Corps of Engineers so that the debris was cleared in record time. That allowed everything else to happen. So my visit last week was about our FEMA money, but can have devastating impact on our general fund in the city, because we need about $8 billion to restore the infrastructure in the neighborhood, to underground the utilities and all of the damage that has taken place to the roads because of the construction. And so getting that FEMA reimbursement is something that LA needs very badly. And then the other areas where the fires took place, Malibu is a separate city, Altadena or the Eden fire is not in the city of Los Angeles. So you also have multiple jurisdictions there as well.
So did you get any commitment from the president that the FEMA money would be coming your way?
Well, I definitely feel hopeful about that because he has personal friends in the Palisades who have also been calling him and are concerned. I will tell you, when he did his tweet about the insurance companies, all of a sudden Palisadians started getting phone calls back. I asked him to pressure the banks too, because we need the banks to extend forbearance. So because people's mortgages are coming due now and they're trying to rebuild at the same time. So I'm pushing that the banks give them another couple of years, but add it onto the back of their loan. So instead of a 30-year loan, you have a 32-year loan, like what we did during the Great Recession, so that more people didn't lose their homes, replicate that same practice. So there was definitely openness. We had been in conversation. He had sent Lee Zeldin to basically supervise us. He said no permits had been given in the Palisades. None. No permits had happened at all, only federal permits. And of course, there's no such thing as a federal building permit. And so what was good for me was when he chose Lee to come out, because Lee was a colleague of mine in DC, and we worked on, of all things, police reform together, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. I don't know if you remember that, Senator, when that happened. And so, we worked on that together. And so Lee was a friend, and Lee and I have been in close communication, and that has worked well. So that makes me hopeful that we will get our FEMA money.
Did any other topics come up, Mayor Bass, that you want to share with us?
No other time. I mean, I was there laser focused. Yeah. He certainly raised the Olympics a lot, and I gave him an Olympic torch from 1984. So he's very interested in the Olympics. He didn't talk much about the World Cup, but I know he's interested, in that as well.
I know you're short on time, but I do want to ask, you are up for reelection. There is this primary system that so many people are learning about. It's different in California than how a lot of other states do it. So I'm wondering what insight you can give us, not only in your race, but this gubernatorial race that suddenly a lot of people are wondering what is going to happen.
Exactly. Well, in my race, it's a nonpartisan race. So what you're referring to is the top two in the primary. And of course, the fear around the governor's race is that we could have two Republicans because it's, no party distinction. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. And you guys can, I know, have different insight. It just seems like the electorate around the country is just mad.
Mad. I think that's right. Yeah.
They're just upset at everybody. And it doesn't seem as though there's a lot of enthusiasm around the governor's race. I mean, our ballots drop literally a week from today. So I say election day is a week from today, and the election ends on June 2nd. But we are 100% mail-in state. So, there's no voter suppression here. You don't even have to put a stamp on it. And it's the same thing in my race. I mean, voters are just not happy. They're not happy with anything. Mm-hmm. An incumbent, certainly puts me at risk. But, I feel like I have a strong record to run on. I mean, again, the first time we've reduced homelessness, crime at a 60-year low. I fast-tracked the building of housing. 42,000 units are under construction. 6,000 actively, 42,000 have been fast-tracked. 6,000 actively under construction. We are a city that is very, very, very involved in climate change. So, we're one of the few cities in the country to be coal-free. Our solar, I turned on the switch to one of the nation's largest solar farms that's going to provide power for 250,000 households. So, I feel like I have a strong record to run on, but just the mood of the electorate and social media, the MAGA folks got a hold of me early on. And so that relentless, hit. And then at the last minute, a member of the city council jumping in the race, which was, very much a surprise. The good news for me, though, is that, I think in LA, we anticipated one of our many billionaires running. And the most prominent one decided not to run. But we had a race last year, 4 years ago when I ran. My opponent spent $110 million in a mayoral race. He made history by doing that, $110 million. And I spent 15, including independent expenditures, and I beat him by 90,000 votes. So he contemplated entering again, but he decided not to. And so we have a multi-millionaire running. But the people that jumped in the race jumped in so late, their name ID is low. But there are too many people in for me to win in June. So I will face, a general election. If I could get 50+1, I wouldn't. But that's not going to happen with the number of people that are in the race.
Yeah.
Fascinating. That's something we talk about all the time on this show. Money in politics. Money in politics. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let me ask you, I got to bring up the word Swalwell. He's out. Has he endorsed anybody? And would that endorsement be a benefit or would it be a negative?
No.
What?
I don't believe anybody would accept his endorsement. No. He has disappeared. He has disappeared.
Really?
And, and I mean, I sat one seat away from him in judiciary for 10 years. I really was not aware. I mean, when he was single, yeah, sure. But once he got married and started having children, I just wasn't aware of what was going on. So it was definitely a horrific, incredibly fast.
I wanted to go on a betting app and bet on one of the candidates. Who would you bet on to win?
Well, I mean, I have my own candidate in the race, and that's Antonio Villaraigosa. And I'm sticking with my candidate. There's a lot of pressure for people to drop out. I don't know that it matters at this point because everybody's name is on, is on the ballot. Yeah. But we do have the, multi-billionaire running there, Tom Steyer, who is not like some of the other billionaires. I think he's, people are more favorable to him. But, amongst the Democrats, it's just really hard to tell right now. It really
they actually have some really good candidates that are running that, are going to lose because there's too many of them. But that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Well, Mayor Bass, it's just been a pleasure to talk to you. Anything else you want to ask, Senator?
Thank you.
Now we look forward to watching the World Cup and then in the 28 Olympics, and we wish you the best. That's a big undertaking, and we wish you the best because it's going to be challenging. And we also wish you the best in the upcoming election.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you both.
Thank you for spending some time with us on this early morning. Have a good day.
Absolutely. You too. Okay. Good.
Okay. So you're going to talk about betting apps? You're going to go start betting on these apps now?
No, but somebody's gonna. So I figure, what the hell, we'll give them. I don't bet. I play poker every day, but it's with agriculture. Okay, so I get all that. All I need. All right. It's called when you sell your grain and all that stuff. When you buy your fuel, and that's all a big bet. But I was really shocked you didn't like my Swalwell question. For God's sakes, I mean.
No, I like your Swalwell question. I don't think it's a question though. Like, would his endorsement hurt or help? What do you think? I don't think he's helping anybody.
He had a bunch of people that were, I mean, he was like the leader. I mean,
Yeah, and then guess what happened?
Like him. Well, and then he's gone. But that's politics. Here today, gone tomorrow. But that's
well,
okay.
I mean, there are some pretty big accusations, Senator.
What's that?
There's some pretty big accusations. So, I mean, I don't think anybody's like, yes, I would love his endorsement.
Let me put it to you this way. The president has done a lot of shit, a lot of stuff, and pretty well documented stuff, and people still go after that endorsement.
I cannot argue with that. That's a great point. I think that name is radioactive right now in the Democratic Party. I don't think anybody's out there looking for his endorsement.
Okay, we gotta clarify. Just checking it out.
I was wondering, like, where is he? What does he do? Like, this is always so fascinating to me. Like things happen, and all of a sudden, these people just disappear. Herman is on the chat saying, Senator, tell us what farmers are experiencing, thinking, and doing with regard to the Iran war inflation.
Well, it's beyond our control. It's like it is with most of the world. You gotta hope beyond hope that this thing ends up in a resolution that our energy prices will come down. You know, when Biden was president, there used to be these little stickers that people would put on gas pumps that say, I did this. And it was a picture of Biden with his finger pointing at the price of gasoline. Well, that price of gasoline came up coming out of COVID that Biden had very little to do with. This, by the way, and I don't see these stickers anymore, but this is 100% on Trump. It's 100% on Trump. And the price of fuel, not only for farmers and small business people and working families and everybody in this country, it's the same way worldwide. I mean, how would you like to be living in Canada? Canada had nothing to do with this war, and their prices have gone through the roof. So, or anywhere else in the world, by the way, in the Pacific Rim or wherever. But the truth is that, you know, price of diesel's damn near double. Fertilizer went through the roof. It still costs, you know, I still got a truck. I got to haul this stuff to market. I still got a tractor that I'm using to plant the grain. You still use a lot of energy in agriculture, and it's going to take people out. And by the way, maybe the rich folks will like that because they can go buy all these farms up and then use them for personal playgrounds, but it doesn't do much for food security. And it's a problem. And the president did give us a tariff check called the bridge loan or bridge grant or whatever you want to call it. It's a subsidy. But the truth is, that's a hell of a way to do business. I mean, you know, we got all these problems, and they're not coming. There's plenty of them coming from Mother Nature, but most of them are coming from Washington, D.C., and most of them are coming from the White House in Washington, D.C. Not Congress, but the White House. Whether it's tariffs or whether it's the price of energy, that's just all on the executive branch, because Congress isn't doing a damn thing. So, you know, they can blame the White House for it, but they're not. They're embracing the White House. If you don't believe me, look what Speaker Johnson does every day. He wraps his arms around the president and gives him a big old smooch, when in fact these policies are killing America. And they're not making America great. They're making America third world is what they're doing.
All right, there's your answer, Herman. Thanks for putting that in the chat. I was thinking of you because at the Substack party that so many of us were in lockdown in for a few hours on Saturday night, it was like a farm theme. So they had these like big ears of corn on the walls. I thought they were palm trees at first, but then I realized they were ears of corn. And then they had cowboys walking around making cannolis, and they were dressed up as cowboys. It was really funny. I thought of you. There's a tractor. And you should have been there in lockdown.
Sounds pretty kinky to me. I'm just telling you. Oh, palm trees are ears of corn, and somebody cowboy hat and boots making cannoli. Really? I don't even know what a cannoli is. Okay.
What?
No, I don't. I'm just a simple farm dude. Okay.
Oh my God. You got to go to Boston. There's a cannoli shop there. It's unbelievable. In Little Italy. It's they're like pastries stuffed with cream.
Well, that sounds good. We'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you don't even know what a cannoli is. There's a joke about that, and my brain is fried. I can't even concentrate.
I haven't watched Star Wars either, so it's okay. You know, it's all right.
That's very true. I mean, I could out you on a lot of other things that you haven't seen or heard of, but I didn't even get to ask Mayor Bass if she goes to Disneyland. I meant to do that.
Oh man, get her back on. Get her back on. Get her back on. Find out what her favorite ride is.
Any final thoughts before I go to work and you go get on the tractor?
My final thoughts is hopefully Congress starts doing their job again, and the president starts listening to the people who put him in office, not just the 25 or 30% that are out there barking in his ear. The issue that I talked to Karen Bass about earlier about workforce is going to bite us in the ass, and sounds like it's already starting, but it's coming. And I'm all about securing the border. But damn it, people who have gotten in line ought to be able to stay in line and get their citizenship. They shouldn't be booted out of the country. It's just quite frankly bad policy economically moving forward. What Congress needs to do is they need to come up with an immigration bill that works for this country. And I know it's
they did. They did.
What's that?
Didn't they come up with a bipartisan bill that they didn't even take up because the president said you can't?
Yeah, that's correct. But the truth is they need a broad-based, good immigration bill that offers this country the opportunity for growth. And what we're doing right now, from an immigration standpoint, we will pay for economically if this policy continues much longer. Because you got to have workforce that business is going to grow and expand and create money within the economy, and it's simply not going to happen, period. And that's not you can go talk to anybody that knows anything about economics and they'll tell you that that's a fact. So Congress ought to be getting to work right now and getting an immigration bill that works for this country. But of course, as Ben Sasse said yesterday in an interview, Congress isn't dealing with stuff that are thinking 2030 or 2040 or 2050. They're dealing with stupid shit right now that really isn't going to change the world at all. So it's where we're at.
It really was such a great interview. It really was just very powerful. I think.
I'll tell you how good of an interview that was, Maritza. We've been trying to get Ben Sasse on this, and Ben's sick, and I understand that. But the truth is, I would feel guilty having him on now. I mean, that interview is so good, so powerful that. People can get on YouTube, I'm sure, and watch it. It's worth the 15 minutes of that to watch because incredibly insightful and it's just incredibly gut-wrenching.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, whatever you want to say. But
no, I agree with you. And I it's a tough thing as a journalist. You want to talk to people who have a story to tell. And at the same time, I would feel guilty too, not only because that interview was so well done, but because he has a limited amount of time and he should be spending that time not talking to you and me. So,
yep.
I mean, especially you, but.
Well, that goes without saying. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that you, by the way, are the consummate professional and know exactly the right questions to ask. Me, I'm just floundering out in the field, man. Just flopping around in the field.
Would Eric Swalwell be a good endorsement?
What the hell? I mean, look, Donald Trump, they ask him for endorsements all the time. In fact, if you don't get his endorsement, you lose.
I am never gonna. This is
standard. What's this double standard stuff you're always talking to me about?
You're right. You're right.
100%.
You're right.
Thank you. Could I get that? Let me get my phone out. I want to record.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
Yeah. It's good news for you. This is recording. This is live, and it will be recorded. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so we are going to wrap up. I'm working on, I thought for our 100th episode, we might have Senator Warnock. We might have some scheduling issues, though. So I got to give them a call. They just called me while we were here live, so I'll give them a call back. And so we're going to figure that out. I don't know when our next episode is yet at this very moment. We'll get it figured out today. But I just want to thank Mayor Karen Bass for joining us to talk about some of these issues that, are happening locally, but really apply to all of us. I want to thank all of you, our viewers and listeners, both live and later on. This is just such a great community. We so appreciate your support. And we want to thank Pearl Jam for letting us use your music. And I didn't ask you about your hat again because I keep failing at my job. What is this? Oh my, what does that say?
You got to read it.
Malt. I don't know how to pronounce that.
It's Malt Europe. What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, Malt Europe. It ain't that tough. Did you flunk English? I mean, really? It's Malt
obviously.
Europe. And I want you to tell me what Malt Europe does.
Something to do with the Whoppers.
No, you're wrong. As usual, you're wrong. They malt grain. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly barley. And why would you want to malt grain? What would you use malted grain for?
Alcohol.
You got it. Little beer, little whiskey. That's it.
That hat's very important to you.
This hat is as of today, it's my go-to hat. I didn't even know I had it, but now I know. So it's good.
Now you know. I just want to say that Herman says that a certain level of ignorance of popular culture is admirable, but you gotta know what a cannoli is.
Sorry.
I agree, Herman. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Now Herman, guilty as charged. Herman, guilty as charged,
Oh my gosh, this has gone off the rails. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Hally ho.